Welcome to Wonderville. I'm Karen.
And I'm Sabina.
And today in our quick tips video, we're going to talk to you about computational thinking.
So what is computational thinking?
Well, computational thinking is essentially a process where you are breaking down a complex problem. And this type of thinking is really great to introduce to your students before getting into coding or writing a program.
And not only does the computational thinking process help prepare students with the mindset to begin to be able to write code or use programs, it also helps students to practice their problem solving and critical thinking. It really increases their confidence and helps them to become more comfortable with working within an open-ended problem, which isn't always easy for all of us, and it really enhances their communication skills.
Definitely. So let's break it down. Computational thinking is actually made up of 4 different parts. So the first is decomposition, and this is where you're really breaking down a complex problem into smaller steps. Second comes pattern recognition. So here you're finding similarities and differences within the entire problem and from what you've broken down in the earlier stage. Next is abstraction, and abstraction is essentially where you're focusing on the most important elements only of that problem and ignoring the rest. So what you're doing here is coming up with a general principle which will then allow you to model that and move on to the last stage, which is algorithm design. And this is where now this is the last step and involves writing out the step-by-step instructions to model out the solution to that complex problem. And this is the stage that leads into writing a program.
And there are so many ways to do it. There's just not one way to teach computational thinking with your students. And many of the activities you can do with students don't even require a computer at all. And one thing that we found really fun about it is that all ages can do it. Sometimes we think, oh, we need to have really high-tech equipment to do it in order to focus on this type of mindset, but we don't. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You don't need to use lots of resources, and anyone can do it.
Exactly, and like you mentioned, really the most common way to implement computational thinking is without a computer. So one quick example of how you could incorporate or introduce a computational thinking exercise with your students is by splitting them into groups and having each group come up with a dance. So making up their own dance. So this gets them moving as well, which is wonderful. And so once they've come up with their dance, then they should be tasked to write out the step-by-step instructions of how to carry out their dance. Then they would go ahead and share and swap with another group, and that group would have to follow their instructions exactly as they wrote to try to carry out their dance. And the results would be pretty funny.
Oh my goodness, I can just imagine it. It would be so much fun. I mean, you can also think about their daily, everyday life. What are things that they do day to day? Like buttering toast. What are the step-by-step instructions for buttering toast? Or all parents would love it if they have to practice or explain the steps for putting in the laundry, like in a washing machine. And I think they'd love it if you would bring the food in, is how to make an ice cream sundae.
Yeah, and so all of these sound like really simple exercises, but the beauty is in the fact that your students and you will recognize pretty quickly that it's very challenging to write out instructions that are so specific that a computer could essentially carry them out. As humans, we use our intuition, our past experiences, and our
body language,
knowledge,
our hands,
to carry out a task. So it really puts them in a different mind frame, and again, it really sets them up nicely for moving on into programming at a later time.
Cool. And so now it's your turn. Try implementing one of the activities that we've just mentioned here today, or think about what are your students doing, what are they really interested in. We also have some Wonderville resources for you to look at. One's called Programming Puzzles. It's a Wonderville activity, and as a fun one, check out our Exact Instructions challenge. I think it will catch your funny bone.
Perfect. So that was our video today. So my name is Karen.
And I'm Sabina.
And until next time,
we're your Wonderville teachers.